So what we have technically is a crossing relocation permit to take the existing State Street crossing and move it south onto the Boise property to serve both the development and the park and carousel users with a much safer entrance. We agreed to pay for all of the work, build a new public street coming down through there and the crossing, expand the carousel parking in this area right here by about 30 spaces, put in a new emergency crossing gate at the existing State Street crossing, and build a sidewalk north from Front Street up to the Court Street entrance so that you can get into the park both ways. We have about 2 years to complete that work. So the lesson here is it is possible. It is possible to create public-private partnerships that benefit both if you work together. It's not fast, it's not cheap, but ultimately you end up with a win-win for Salem, the park, and the development. And I see Mayor Taylor's in the audience. Thank you very much, Janet. Could I have the next graphic, please? I'm going to talk a little bit about the main effort for this coming year, which is the creek daylighting. And just to get you oriented, Commercial Street runs right along here. That's the rail crossing. The old acid ball eco-earth is right up here, and that's Pringle Creek running through the middle. All of this here is currently covered and has been. So that's our next major effort. That creek we want to turn into the centerpiece of the development and potentially a major new public space for Salem, our version of the San Antonio Riverwalk. So not just sidewalks, but creek overlooks, plazas, extensive landscaping. The main feature is going to be a new public path linking the Civic Center, which sits right down here, all along underneath Commercial Street, all along the bank of the creek, under the rail, and eventually tying into this area of Riverfront Park. And right about there is where the Minto Island Bridge will go when that gets built. The reason for going under Commercial Street and the railroad is so pedestrians don't have to deal with 4 lanes of traffic and waiting for the train. We want it to look natural, but this is a park space, not a habitat restoration. I mean, our main emphasis is on public access, creating a new pedestrian access to the south end of the park and future Minto Brown Bridge. I'm going to run real quickly through sort of a series of cross sections to kind of give you a feel for it. One of the challenges here is under normal flow conditions, that creek is about 30 feet below street level, and we wanted to avoid a big deep canyon. So what we're looking at as you face towards the river and you walk down, creek level here, street level there, pedestrian link about halfway in between. So high enough up above the water that it doesn't flood too frequently, but close enough that you actually can enjoy the creek and you're not peering over an edge that you're afraid to step too close to. Next one. Running a little farther down, that's the railroad crossing in the background, but again you can sort of see there are some areas where it's steep enough that we have to do sort of a stair step. There are other areas where we can do more of a gentle slope. Next one. As you start coming out towards the park, from this point on, and here's where the cross section is, there's the railroad bridge. So you're now past the railroad bridge on the riverside. Now the vistas start to really open up and you can see what's going on. And the last graphic is, there's our friend Eco Earth. We come back up to grade there. And right about there, although we didn't draw it because we didn't want to be too presumptuous, is where the Minto Island Bridge is going to go. We've got some big challenges here. That area of the creek has been covered by buildings for 95 plus years. There are no natural banks to restore. It's all old industrial fill, riprap, and concrete. In short, it's a mess under there today. The creek floods. For those of you who've been around a while can remember the 96 flood. That's not the last time it's going to flood like that. We have big flows and velocities to handle, which makes planting difficult. So we have to be very judicious and careful in how we lay this out. And then lastly, there are a lot of local, state, and federal agencies involved. So it's going to take time, money, effort, but we want to create a major new attraction for Salem. So looking forward to 2010, we're going to be working on the creek permits, landing some good tenants in the South Block remodel, working closely with the city on their Commercial Street Bridge replacement project, which is about to start here in the next year or two. So with all of that, I can't promise construction this year, but it's what we're working toward. And go Salem, and I understand we'll have a chance for questions and answers after everybody speaks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I have to take my glasses off to read my notes, so I can't see you anymore, but I can see my notes. First, I want to take an opportunity to thank those members of my board that are in attendance, and I think I got everybody down. We have Mayor Taylor, who is on my board. We have Ken Junt, Jeff Connor, Larry Goodrow, and our board chair, Dave Van Bossett. If you guys would all stand so people can recognize you from my board. I can't emphasize enough, I come from a community in Idaho where we felt very strongly about our chamber as well. And chambers of commerce, in my mind, are probably the single most important thing for a community to have strong and vibrant. It tends to lead people who come from the outside to look at you and say, now there's a community that I can see myself getting involved with, I can see myself moving my company there. So the strong chamber is just one of the most important things that we tout when we're out talking to folks around the country, around the nation, around the world when we're talking to companies about Oregon. For those of you that don't know a lot about SEDCOR is a public-private partnership. We work on a contract with the mayor and her staff with the city of Salem. We work on a contract with the county, and we work on a contract with the county over in Polk. The rest of our 50% of our budget comes from our private membership. So we are a true public-private organization, 501c6. 70% roughly of what we do is work with those companies and those industries that are already here in Salem, helping them build a stronger workforce, helping them expand, helping them in whatever way we can, particularly on the industrial side. As an example, most recently we've been involved with Chemeketa Community College and the Center for Business and Industry, Diane McLaren, and Dr. Bob Topping from Chemeketa to develop a program called the IMOM program, which is the Industrial Maintenance, Mechanics, and Operators program, where we are working with our local industry partners to educate their workforce and kind of grow them so that they are providing the necessary people for jobs when the current workforce is going to retire. We also help all of our industries with screening, recruitment, and training, and a lot of that we do through our partners, either Center for Business and Industry, the Enterprise for Employment, Chemeketa, and our other resource partners. As an example, the new employees out at the Sanyo plant that we recruited last year, those employees are being trained down in Diane McLaren's building down on High Street. With our economy, as a lot of people say, in the tank for the last year and a half, we've been quite fortunate here in the Mid-Willamette Valley. And Mike, when he called me up the other day and said, you know, you've got about 10 or 15 minutes to talk to the group about some good things, some positive things that are happening in our economy. And there are some good things happening in our economy. We have been blessed the last 2 years with a couple of major accomplishments and about 15 other corporate expansions within the Marion County area that we've been able to assist. I'm going to talk about a couple of them in particular. First, of course, you know Sanyo, Solar of Oregon LLC. They're spending $84 million out on a site that the city put together a couple of years ago, the Salem Renewable Energy and Technology Center. The city had the vision and the foresight to get a piece of property ready to go. And in my industry, when I'm out talking to companies around the country, around the world, about coming to Salem, the last thing they want to hear from me is, well, we'll be ready for you in about 2 years. We've got to be ready for them now. And the foresight of the city to go ahead and commit to the infrastructure and getting that piece of property ready is the reason we have Sanyo here today and their 200 employees.